Hi, my name is Racheal. I am black, and I am female, it's true. I just wanted to make that clear in case anyone simply saw a human being standing here. I wanted to be open about my defects. Defects, you say? In what way? Well, my skin color renders me a minority, and women are the weaker vessel. I've consequently learned my genetic level isn't of the highest authority. So I wanted to address the elephant in the room, because I didn't want to assume that even though I don't look the part of the authoritative status quo, that you'd let that go and listen to me from the start. I didn't want to make that assumption. But now that's out the way. Now, I first became aware of these defects well into my teens, when my life grew bigger than South London. Before that, I didn't really care, as I was never in a position where it mattered. But when it started to matter, it seemed to really matter. And in those moments, I thought, just blend in and adapt, Rach. No one will notice. If you just cut out the urbanisms and you straighten your hair, that'll be enough for people not to stare. But I couldn't quite be the chameleon I'd hoped, and my existence meant this question was constantly evoked. Where are you from? Now, we all know this situation where the answer, London, seems to cause irritation. So I grew accustomed to the follow-up question, which is the same, but with a different intention. No, but where are you from? So now I'm on it, straight away, and I say, I was born in London, but my parents are from Ghana. However, there was this one occasion when I had this urge, this sensation, not to leave it there. And it probably wasn't fair, but I really didn't care. And I asked, why? Now you know that information about me, what is it you're going to do differently? Oh, I just wanted to know, she answers surreptitiously. Why? Because you fancied an education in my family tree? And now she's probably wishing she hadn't approached this 5'8" black adolescent who's now looming over her 5'4" frame. You can imagine it better now, right? And I didn't even say she was white. Whoa, sorry, what did I say wrong? You don't look like it's just London you're from, she utters as she leaves. Now, after that incident, I caught myself like, whoa, Rach, what was that about? Is it so bad that she wanted to know? Surely it's by asking and therefore learning that we grow. And I realized what the problem was. The problem was I'd become ashamed of what made me different. I'd suppressed it all, and I was incensed when I still stuck out, that my efforts to be viewed the same as everyone else were futile. And I wondered why I didn't want to be different. It's because different is usually met with some form of friction, a sense that you don't belong, hence the question, where are you from? As humans, we like what we know, what's familiar, that's the status quo, and anything else kind of has to prove itself, consequently starting a level below. And I didn't want that to be me. I wanted to be part of the majority. Who wants to be part of the small group? Because we serve the majority. The minority aren't a priority. An everyday example being when I see products that are advertised for normal skin or normal hair, and none of the models look like me. That's because the majority of people in this nation don't, and the companies want to make money and are catering to the masses. So in that situation, that's where my outburst of frustration had come from. I was tired of being part of the small group, the group that didn't have the privilege of an unjustified belonging. So then I thought back to a time before I'd learned about this socially contrived genetic hierarchy, to a time in primary school, when there was a large map of the world on our classroom wall. Now, a picture of every child would be around that map, and with a piece of string and some blue tack, each child would be connected to the country of their heritage. That's me. Now, I remember that day, I was feeling like an absolute boss with my shiny lip gloss. As a side note, Ofori is not spelt with an apostrophe, but I remember my teacher telling me something about Irish names having apostrophes after the O's in their surnames. And I wanted to lay claim to some seriously diverse ancestry, so an apostrophe existed in my surname for a while. Anyway, back to the map of heritage. Now, I didn't appreciate at the time, but my class was quite diverse. Most of us were born in London, some of our parents weren't, and we'd share the stories of the family history we could gather. We were all different, and that was great. I remember there was one child who was born here, and so were his parents, but he enjoyed the found fact that his great-great-grandmother had actually migrated all the way from Scotland. Now, that was down the road in comparison to my family, but a difference to be celebrated nonetheless. So thinking back to that time made me appreciate that, yes, we are all different, and that's a good thing. So why had it changed from a notion that meant you had something to offer to something that meant you weren't quite on the same playing field? It's because as humans, we like to categorize things for our understanding. So male, female, black, white, brown, able, disabled, homosexual, heterosexual, the list goes on. And then once we've categorized, we like to make logical decisions about which is better. So, for instance, men are generally bigger than women, therefore they have bigger brains, so they are better. Well, by this logic, we are inferior to whales and elephants. So this logic isn't entirely reliable. Now, earlier I made a joke about my defects. It was a joke. I don't feel like I'm defective. But these two properties, being black and female, seem to categorize me above all. And along with the knowledge of these came this sort of manual as to what was and wasn't expected of me through various occurrences. Like the time I was told, hearing you on the phone, I didn't think you were black. So I learned that it wasn't really expected for me to look like this and sound like this. Or when I was told, you're beautiful for a colored girl, like it caught him by surprise. And that, among other instances, taught me that it wasn't expected of me to be considered conventionally beautiful. There was also the expectation of femininity. Like when I was 9, I remember my maternal grandmother's look of disbelief when I answered no to her question, can you fry an egg? Now, I was embarrassed because I thought I was already so far behind in this journey to becoming a woman. I mean, if cooking was innate to females, I was 9, so I was like really behind everyone. I was also embarrassed because I thought she was going to ask my mother why she hadn't equipped me with such basic cooking skills already. Then there was the time I started to develop, and I learned for some reason it was vital that I veiled these developments. I learned about how I present myself as a woman, how I wear my hair, for instance. I'm taken less seriously when my hair's in braids. Calm down, it's just a hairstyle, I'm still the same person. I also learned about how much of yourself you should present and reveal and how much you should conceal about yourself as a woman, and I found myself questioning these parameters. Why do we perpetuate these socially contrived conditions? Why is my sexual confidence considered cheap? The female body is beautiful and something to celebrate. Yeah, I have boobs and I think they're great. And I have the equipment to have babies, but that doesn't render me a breeding machine. Now, these aren't necessarily the thoughts expected of a woman of strong West African descent. My mum might have something to say when she hears this talk. But I constantly find myself asking why I want to adhere to these expectations and these conventions, and why I don't want to be different. It's because somewhere along the way, I learned that different is not good. It's unfamiliar to the masses and consequently lesser. And in the bid to be considered equal, the last thing you want to do is be unusual. You want to blend in and just be the same. But we aren't. We are not the same. The world should be a domain where different and equal aren't exclusive from one another, but a place they can coexist. And if we change the attitude toward that which is different, then it can be. Because we are different. We're all different. And that is great. That's a good thing. So whatever it is about you that is not the norm, own that. And it can be more than your ethnicity or your sexuality. Those were overt categorical examples. But anything that breaks the rules of expectation of your class or gender or any other parameter. Because the status quo perpetuates when we suppress that which is different. And different is good, surely. Different makes new things happen. Different keeps us from a boring society of homogeny. I mean, we are 3D multifaceted beings. Why do we continue to adhere to these 2D structures? And I know we all know this to be true. Like, what I'm saying is not new news to you, but the practicality is a different story. Because trying to blend in and be the same is just a bit easier. It's simpler to do what's expected and play a part. But no great story has that start. Of I look this way, I did what was expected, and now I am great. Like, never. Now, I know they say life is short, and that is to incentivize pragmatism. Do it now, life is short. But on the flip side, what will you experience that is longer than your life? Life is the longest thing you will know. And do you want to spend that long time simply following the rules of expectation? Because the only person that knows more about you and your great differences and your uniqueness than you does not exist. So go there and explore those things about you. Because we are all different, and that is great. So rather than the animosity, let's celebrate that fact. That we are equal, but we are not the same. Different, but equal. And different is good. Thank you.